welcome to this YouTube video. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a short clip from my Get to Know Your Camera course. The reason I'm doing this is to give you a little bit of information that is provided in the course for free, but also to give you a little bit of a taste of what my courses are like, what it's like to work with me. If you do want more information on the course, the link is in the description, so make sure you go and check that out. And if you do have any questions, just drop them in the comments here for me. So let's get started. Mode dial. So this is usually on the top of your camera and looks similar to the picture here. It may be slightly different depending on what camera you have. So this is the dial that allows you to choose which mode you are going to have your camera in when you are shooting. And there are many different modes. So simply you just turn this dial, as you can see it's a little bit blurry in this picture, but there's a white line there indicating which mode you are in. So just turn the dial to the different mode that you want to be in. So in terms of what are the modes, so there's quite a few different modes, and I'll just explain what they all are now. So the first one is auto mode. This is usually represented by a green square on your mode dial, or you might even just have the word auto. This is basically the mode where the camera controls everything. It's on complete auto. You have no control over the camera. So the reason you are doing this course is probably because you don't want to still be using auto. You may have had the camera on completely auto up until now, but the point of this course is to get you off that mode and to start using some of the other modes that we have here. Next we have P mode, or program mode, again usually represented by the letter P. Now this is one of the first semi-automatic modes. So this is where you have control over one or two aspects of the camera, for example, the exposure settings, but the camera controls everything else. So in program mode, the setting that you have control over is the ISO. You can change that to whatever you want it to be, and you may have a few other controls in regards to autofocus and white balance, that kind of thing as well. But mainly you have control over the ISO in P mode. Next we have shutter priority, which is represented by either the letters TV or S, depending on which camera you have. This is again a semi-automatic mode where you have control over the shutter speed. You can set the shutter speed to what you want it to be, and the camera will set all the other settings for you. Next we have aperture priority. So this is where you have control over the aperture as opposed to the shutter speed or the ISO. So these are all three parts of the exposure triangle, which we're going to cover in the next lesson. So don't worry if this is all sounding a little bit strange at the moment. We will go through what shutter speed, ISO and aperture are in the next lesson. So that aperture priority is usually represented by an AV or just an A, depending which camera you have. Then we have manual mode. So this is usually represented by the letter M. This is where you have complete control over your camera. And this is what you're aiming to be using manual mode by the end of this course. You should be able to use manual mode completely by the end of this course without any trouble. That is what we are aiming for here. Then we have bulb mode, or B as it's represented. This is again a manual mode, but it allows you to have use much longer shutter speeds than you can use in manual mode. So when you're using manual mode, you can have a longest shutter of about 30 seconds, when using bulb mode, you can actually hold the shutter open for as long as you want it to be open. This is great for doing night photography. If you're doing something like light painting, that's really good as well. If you want to learn more about light painting or painting with light, whatever you want to call it, again, let me know in the comments and I can reach out to you with some information on that. Again, we'll go over shutter speed in the next lesson. Then we have custom modes. These are usually represented by a C, and you might have a few different custom modes like C1, C2, C3, depending on your camera. Now, custom modes is where it's completely manual again, but you can actually, in your camera's menu, set a series of settings, so your shutter speed, your ISO, your aperture, and you can basically save those settings so that when you come into this custom mode, your camera already has those settings dialed in and you're ready just to shoot. So if you know that you're always taking pictures in a studio, say of products or something, and you're always using the same settings, well, they're always very similar, and you know that you want to have a starting point, this can just save you a few seconds dialing in those settings, or even trying to remember those settings. You can just have a mode that you switch your camera to that mode, and those settings are already there. Of course, once you're in that mode, you can then adjust those settings as well. Then finally, we have the scene modes. These are, again, kind of a series of automatic modes. So I wouldn't recommend using these, but they're designed for specific types of photography. So there's often a sports one, there's a night photography one, a portrait one, etc. It goes on and on. The modern cameras have a lot of scene settings, just depending on what you are photographing. Again, it's an automatic mode that gives you settings specific for that type of photography. Okay, so that was the clip from my Get to Know Your Camera course. I hope that you found it useful. If you did, make sure you go and check out the full course. Again, the link is in the description for that. I will also be doing some more of these videos as well, so check out the playlist on my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Bye bye.